For the past month, this phone has managed to surprise me in every possible angle. This is the Poco X8 Pro. Not just the standard version, but the Iron Man Special Limited Edition. Okay, this is the coolest, grandest unboxing experience I've ever had. So, first we've got this insert containing the SIM ejector pin. Inside, there's the case and some papers. On the other side, there is this welcome card with the Iron Man schematics. I think the black and gold is intentional. It suits Poco's branding more than the classic red color. Then we have got the phone and finally the USB cable. You also get this Tony Stark signature on it. And they even sent a model of the Mark 15 with the media kit. All of these leading to this one peel. Okay, design is definitely the centerpiece of attention here, or one of the centerpieces. This is intentionally bold, and while it feels flat, it doesn't look flat in any way. They've managed to make the light reflect in a very interesting manner. And talking about lights, notice these patterned rings around the cameras? They are special backlights which you can control from the settings app. They sync with the music, notifications, calls, and even with the camera. Oh, look, you can even change the color of the lights. The limited edition happens to come with one of the coolest smartphone cases I've ever seen. It carries the same Iron Man theme while also managing to be more subtle and very tough. This is solid. The phone itself is tough too. It has got the highest IP rating you can get on the planet right now. It is completely dust tight and has got solid water resistance out of the box. Directly related to the design is the software. Because this is the special limited edition, HyperOS uses a complete Iron Man skin, starting from the icons to widgets, fingerprint animation, and even the boot animation. It's all very elaborate and expressive. But you're not stuck with these. You can always go back to normal icons from the theme store. It's a very customizable OS, like I cover in every Xiaomi or Poco video. It's not very different from the top tier models, but there is one very specific thing that is different about this phone. It is the first phone in studio to come with HyperOS 3.0 out of the box. And oh, I love this version. Not a single bug that I noticed. It's such a stable piece of software, much more improved compared to their first stable release. And interconnectivity wise, well, I don't know where to start. If you own other Xiaomi devices, this is going to be the perfect companion. I currently have my Xiaomi Pad 8. It supports clipboard, call sync, screen sharing, and more. It also further extends to Apple devices, so it's not like Xiaomi is forcing you into their exclusive ecosystem. Rather, they're extending to accommodate as many devices as possible. And yes, I think we all know the fact that there are ads and even several pre-installed apps, but you can always turn the ads off and uninstall the extra apps. There's still one thing that kind of confused me initially. The refresh rate, which even my friend pointed out when he was with me during our last shoot. It seems like it's a bit more than 120Hz, but it isn't. And that's primarily because of two things. The animation tuning in the app launch experience, yes, but also more importantly, the processor. This has got the Dimensity 8500 Ultra. It's an 8-core processor, 1 performance core, 3 additional performance cores, and 4 efficiency cores. Now, to be honest, it is not just the processor. This also has got one of the fastest RAMs on a smartphone, LPDDR5X in this case. On top of that, the fastest storage you can get on a smartphone, UFS 4.1. The quality of the RAM and the storage matters much more than you think. What you're going to watch next is probably the most extensive performance testing as of today on entire YouTube about this phone. And you will be surprised with the results. I won't talk much about light tasks like browsing, scrolling, or even light gaming because you know they are going to perform well, and they do. Let's start with some open world games. Now, to keep things handy, when you get the X8 Pro, make sure to have the ultimate mode added to the control center, so it's easy to switch on or off. Also, while gaming, toggle the Wild Boost feature on. Now, at ultra settings with everything maxed out, there's consistent 60 FPS performance, which is our set FPS in the game settings. I'm saying this after running multiple 1-hour continuous gameplay sessions. It is no less than any of the flagships I own, packed with even faster processors. Yes, there are drops, but they are very, very rare. Switching to a different open world game, the smoothness remains the same, even in scenes where there are just too many things happening. Now, it's time for our final test. In this very graphics-heavy game, the X8 Pro stays around 21 FPS. The range is typically from 19 to 23 FPS, with the target set to 60. But there's one thing that you must know. Different games have different levels of optimization across different system software. So real-life performance will be different for other demanding games. But what about the thermals? Believe me or not, This also surprised me. In each and every one of the flagships I've tested with sub-transit drive, they get significantly hot, to the extent that it becomes painful to physically hold the device. That isn't the case here. I'm not indicating that it remains cool, that absolutely isn't the case. It's just impossible. It gets hot, really hot, but also not to the extent of my flagships. I think it's a good balance between FPS and heat. For the RAM management, let me show you. So I'm playing this open world game at ultra settings. I will just close this, leave it running in the background. Let us also start the stopwatch here and take a round trip around the globe through our very own space mission. What I want you to do is keep a track of the time, because I will be speeding up this part. Okay, so around 10 to 11 minutes have passed. Moment of truth. It is still running. I know, not very impressive, right? But there were a few cases when I forgot to remove sub-transit drive from the recents and left it overnight. It was still active the next day. Not that I could play it, my session had expired, but it was very surprising. If you keep an app in the background, rest assured it will stay active there. Okay, gaming is not the only thing that a smartphone can do. What about other lighter things like watching movies or TV shows? That now directly brings us to the display. This is a 1.5K panel. I actually directly switched from my OnePlus 15 to this phone, and I couldn't notice much of a difference. I'll even say that the experience has been a tad bit better so far. Auto visibility is slightly better with the 2000 nits in HBM compared to 1800 nits on the 15. I now have a 12-bit panel, which previously was restricted to 10-bit, which also means that this phone can now show around 68 billion colors compared to around 1 billion on the other pricier phones that I own. And talking about price, it starts from only $299. Tell me that does not completely shatter your idea of value for money. And here is a full price chart of the different models that launched today. Just to mention, even in the base Pro model, you're going to get the same super fast RAM and storage that I was talking about. It is not only restricted to the high variants. The primary difference is just the quantity of the RAM and storage. That's all. Coming back to the display, it is an AMOLED, so the contrast is excellent, and also has got the 120Hz refresh rate, just like you would expect. But there are a few unexpected things too, like the support for HDR10+, Dolby Vision, and a very high frequency PWM dimming, which reduces eye strain when using this phone in the dark. Although I think the several TÜV Rheinland certifications are also responsible for that. Now, there is still one thing that I forgot to cover in the performance part, and that is the touch sampling rate of the display. According to Poco, it goes up to 480Hz, which is verifiable according to my tests, but it is rated to go up even further, up to 2560Hz with instant touch sampling, and they're using the Corning Gorilla Glass 7i. But I think the more important part is having a pre-applied screen protector, which this one has. I don't have to think twice before tossing this thing into my bag or my pockets. Okay, let's talk about the speakers. This is the easiest area to compromise. So this is the Oppo X9 and this is the Vivo X300. Do not confuse these phones with the Poco X series. These are proper flagships, significantly more pricey than the star of today's show. And both of these phones have pretty big compromises in the speakers. This is not balanced at all, and this one lacks depth or richness. Also, both of them do not come with Dolby Atmos. The X8 Pro, however, nails the speaker segment. They are very well balanced. It is very hard to notice a difference between the two speakers, and also immersive because of built-in Dolby Atmos. The only place where I did find a bit lacking was in the bass, but that too I think is because of my acquired bassy taste, which was easily solvable from the built-in equalizer. Like I mentioned, I switched from the OnePlus 15 and again could not notice much of a difference. I haven't tried playing my favorite web series, well, second favorite after Dexter. The same scenes played on the two phones alternatively, no perceivable difference. I'll even say the X8 Pro goes slightly louder than my OnePlus. One small thing that I must mention here are the haptics. These are very strong, very well tuned. I love them. Okay, now the cameras. The main sensor is the Sony IMX882. It's 50MP and is pretty sharp. Details are well maintained across different scenes. I also could not find much optical issues like heavy purple fringing or chromatic aberrations. The processing is excellent. There is a noticeable amount of natural background blur. Also, very good dynamic range, even with the bright sky directly visible in the background. Sometimes I feel like it is a bit too much, so you also get this handy option to disable HDR in the camera app. Human subjects look great on this camera. The clarity is excellent. The processing looks very Leica-like those that I've seen on their pricier phones. The portrait mode is also good. The edge detection is decent. Like here, it manages to separate out most of my hair. Night performance is also very good. I did not expect the main camera to perform so well. Loved the shots. The ultra-wide camera is not as powerful as the main camera. It is 8 MPs and has got a fixed focus, but under good lighting, it becomes quite difficult to differentiate the shots from those that are taken using the main camera, primarily because of the processing. You also get a 2x zoom preset in the camera, and here are some sample shots using it. I think this can be counted as a fun macro alternative. Works pretty well for that. The main camera can shoot up to 4K, not 30 but 60 FPS. Details are excellent. I also love the colors and the dynamic range. The dark areas are clearly visible against the bright sky. And this is the default SDR video. It gets even better with HDR10+, 4K 30 FPS. Now, I can't show you properly how the HDR performs since this is safely brought down to SDR, but the difference is noticeable directly on the phone screen itself. See how the display pixels showing the brighter areas physically have more brightness compared to the pixels showing the darker areas. And night videos are great too. I'm shooting on the dedicated night mode video, which can go up to 4K 24 FPS now. Also, because the main camera has got OIS, it performs pretty well in terms of nighttime video stability. Now, this is the standard stability mode. You even get a dedicated shoot steady mode, which further enhances the stability. But the max resolution supported is up to FHD 30 FPS. I was still pleased to find that the ultra-wide camera video is also supported under shoot steady. The even more surprising part is that this same secondary camera can shoot in HDR10+. Again, here is the comparison of a video shot in HDR10+ and SDR. Still, without any of the fancy options, the overall video quality sits at full HD 30 FPS max. Now, the front camera is 20 MPs. I'm sharing a few image samples to give you a good idea of the quality and the dynamic range. It also supports portrait mode. Videos in the front camera go up to FHD 60 FPS max with some decent stabilization. The surprising part is that it supports HDR10+, even here. But it is limited to 30 FPS. Again, the results are much more noticeable when you see the output on an HDR10+ certified display. That is the phone's display. Okay, to give you a good idea of the audio quality, I'm currently shooting on the street and there is quite a bit of environmental traffic noise. So this is probably one of the worst case scenarios you're going to hit. Along with audio quality, you will also get a fair idea of the stabilization of the camera. I think it's pretty good. Now, the Pro mode is very interesting here. Not just because it supports RAW 50MP photos, but also these photography presets, which you can save and switch among. You can export your own styles or even import new styles. The gallery editor is stacked with a lot of tools. For example, this is the Ultra HD feature, which improves the image quality. Then you also get AI Beauty that modifies and edits the entire picture for you. And even there are some extra options inside the crop feature. For example, you get Distort and Free Edit to fix perspective issues. Also, the Create tab comes with several AI features like Image Expander, which, well, expands the image, Eraser to remove people and unwanted objects from a shot. They also added this new Remove Glare feature. Never noticed this in previous HyperOS versions. There are other AI features too. Text AI is present almost everywhere. Just select and you get these options. There's AI in the voice recorder such as speech to text, speaker recognition, and even a summarizer. You also get a separate AI which serves as a translator. Let's talk about the connectivity part. There's Wi-Fi 6.0, Bluetooth 6.0, both of which are reliable. Most of your Bluetooth headphones are going to work well. Poco said that this phone supports the following codecs, but in my testing, I did find 2 extra codecs supported. That is Qualcomm haptics and haptics HD, even though this is a MediaTek chipset. Remember, these two are different from the haptics adaptive codec. Also, it supports Auracast. Oh, and 5G connectivity is also pretty reliable. I consistently get 5G Plus in my area, and across the several instances when I took this phone out, calls were also very reliable. And last is the battery. So the total capacity is 6500 mAh, and in this test, I used some extra third-party apps along with my own record keeping. Just to give you a better idea, here are the several battery drop percentages per hour. I also did a charging test, and again, the average time is shown on screen. Specs wise, it supports charging speeds up to 100 watt and reverse charging up to 27 watt. Okay, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Do like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.